Well, I grew up in Honduras, in Central America, where dirt houses were no big deal. It was just a kind of house. And I never really thought much about it, except that in my mind, I realized that dirt is a kind of house, where most people don't have that reality, that it's a kind of house that works. And then I went to Africa, and I just happened to be at a bus stop where this guy was building a cob house. And he did it while I was waiting for the bus. And the women had already brought all the blobs of cob, and they were all lined up in a circle, or circled up. And he threw it together in like an hour or two. And it was a thin dome, big enough for a person. And all the cob was ready, and he just slap, 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 and wove this cob into a dome. And I was 22 at the time, and I remember it just, how sometimes you have images that just are burned into you. They're like there's a movie in there and you can see it. Well, that happened. And I don't remember thinking much about it other than just this visual of the beauty of this man building this dome of dirt. And I thought, wow, because I'd always been building. I love to build. From when I was a kid, I was building tree forts and, hammering things together. And then I started building fences and doing construction of all different kinds. But it was wearing out my body, especially my right arm, and especially my elbow and my wrist, from hammering and sawing and all the noise and toxic wood and stuff. And it was just like I was getting fed up with that part. So then when I saw that you could build without having that right armness and that poison and noise, and it really excludes other people. You don't go up to somebody who's sawing a board and say, "Hi, what you doing?" But this whole idea of the cob was so inclusive of people and so much easier on my body and on my nose and, my lungs and everything. And I don't know, I think it slowly soaked in the power of what I was seeing. But at the time, it was just an interesting little thing. And we drove up to Llantos, that very first house that he built, the Heart House. And I think it was his very first official workshop that I went to. And anyway, I went to his place and was enchanted. Sold. I spent my last dollar on going to the cob workshop. I was just impassioned just from seeing the house and meeting Llanto, who, of course, is a brilliant speaker, brilliant thinker that really excited me. So off we go, and it was May, and it was in Ashland, and to learn cob. All you had to do was just dig it out and make your landscaping and mix it on. We didn't do tarps then. You didn't know about that? Oh, talk about work. Okay, so we mixed the cob with pitchforks. We stirred it with pitchforks. It wasn't until later that the tarp came into being. I'll tell you that story too. Anyway, so we worked and we mixed it. Well, my friend Chris went home the first day. She couldn't stand it. But I was just insanely in love. I remember wearing out my thumbnails. We didn't know about cobber's thumbs either. We just used our thumbs. I remember my thumbnails just being off, gone, rubbed off. I was just wounded with my passion of doing the cob. It was just crazy. And we made the walls really, really thick then, like way overkill. And we put eggshells and banana peels into the wall. All 20 boxes and 13, it all went in the wall. And it was so fun and so inspiring. I just was, how you get those times where you can't sleep. You're so excited and yet you don't need to sleep because life is just filling you up. It was like that, 5 days of just crazy cobbing. So inspiring. Anyway, obviously I was inspired too, because I went off careening into the cob world, obsessively cobbing everything and everywhere. And I joined up with Yanto and quickly became his liaison between the people and Yanto and Cobb. And we just cobbed madly, and Yanto and I just had a blast, bouncing our brains off each other. And the last thing I did with Yanto was a project in New Zealand. And that's where the tarp got invented. Because I was there in New Zealand visiting some friends of mine, and I was so excited. Of course, I was just like, cob, an evangelist. And they were like, well, we want to see how to do it, So I said, well, okay, we'll just make a little model. Well, don't get the lawn, don't wreck the lawn. So I laid out a little piece of canvas to mix the cob on so that it wouldn't wreck this woman's lawn. And thus the tarp was invented. Hallelujah! How many backs have we saved? Anyway, that was the very first year that I was into it, which was 95, I think. So off I went with my little cob workshop.